Hello, I want to talk about my piece of artwork, which was a response to the theme of holding it together at the end of, or towards the end of our lockdown. I started thinking about all the things that were important to us during lockdown and as we come out of lockdown. And for me, the garden has been a huge spirit lifter during all of our periods of lockdown. I've spent a lot of time in the garden. I have enjoyed watching things emerge, and in fact have become much more observant of what goes on in the garden. So winter was particularly difficult in this current lockdown where we are now, which is the end of March 2021, has felt really long. So the first thing I decided was important was the fact that the ordinary and the everyday has been so important to us. Things like going shopping has actually made a big difference in our lives. Those have been the highlights, bizarrely. It's going food shopping. So I decided to combine a piece of art, painting, with some bookbinding, with a bit of bookbinding technique, and it seemed really appropriate to use items that have been important to us, that have helped us hold things together, for the binding of this painting. So this is a piece of dogwood. The red stems have been one of the few points of colour in the garden through the winter, which has been rather nice every time we walked out of the front door, because there is one right next to our front door. I took apart a brown paper bag to create the binding for this project, because we've lost all the bling. I didn't think it was appropriate to use a very bling bag. I thought the ordinary, everyday, the down to earth has been what's held us together. And similarly, a piece of garden string has been so important, both because it is very ordinary and very down to earth and very organic and homespun, as well as the fact that, of course, apart from the symbolism, it actually is physically holding this binding together. So if we open the binding out, we can then see the other elements of this piece of artwork. So to start with, this is what winter felt like. Winter was grey skies, everything underground, and there was all this pent up potential that we had, which, rather like the bulbs underneath the ground, was just waiting to emerge. As we unfold this little mini sketchbook, we can see the emerging of the fulfilling of the potential, which we are starting to gradually see reflected in the garden, and in the hope of, or the anticipation of, the things we're going to be able to do quite soon. The seeing family outdoors, which will be our next step. This week the schools went back, so that was a huge, big step forward for us. And hopefully we'll quite soon reach this stage, which is going to be joyful and will coincide with all the flowers coming out in spring. And the daffodils in particular have been a really bright spot. So I actually picked these daffodils here from the garden and have tied them together with a piece of this garden string and used those as my subject for the final part of this, which is when you turn the page, as I hope we all will soon, you can see, look back on where we were, look back to the winter with all the darkness and the grey skies and the just hanging on that we all felt we were doing, and see how, even though there are a few little shadows of doubt where we have to still be careful and we have to still be aware of all of the precautions that we're taking, the vaccine has helped us hold it together. And now we see what we hope will be the way we feel in spring, the joyful, bright flowers that we see emerging in the garden will be reflected in the way we feel about lockdown. So this is my representation of holding it all together. I hope you've enjoyed it.